Now this is another way you can find the line actually that you're going to be drawing on the graphs, the linear equation. You can actually put it into what's called a point slope formula. You know where we're getting the y and the x values. This is plane y and this is plane x. So you're just going to choose one of the ordered pairs. This one's fine. We have it marked already as x and y1. So the 3 would fit here underneath this value, and the 2 would fit under this value for the x. We already discussed how you get slope. You're going to use both of the ordered pairs and put it into the formula that you just copied into your notes. So the m is always the slope, and the x and the y terms come from the ordered pair. You may remember that the coordinate plane has 4 different sections in it called quadrants. They are Roman numeral 1, and it goes clockwise, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, and quadrant number 4. To get a value in the first quadrant, our ordered pairs would be positive x and a positive y. So you would have like positive 3, positive 2. You go to the right and upward. Those are both positive directions. When you go to quadrant 2, you're going in the negative direction on the x-axis and a positive direction on the y. So now we're going to have this situation. In the third quadrant, our values are negative on the x and negative on the y. And on the fourth quadrant, you're going positively in the x direction, and your y term would be down. That's negative. So your ordered pair would look like this. So in quadrants that have both of the same values, both positive or both negatives, we might have a line that goes into those quadrants mostly. I know this touched quadrant 4, but when our line goes from the quadrants that have both of the signs the same, we call that a positive slope. It's going upward. If this were a hill or an escalator, we would be going in this direction. It would be an upward slope. Conversely, if your line is going mostly in your 2 quadrants that have different symbols to it, you're going in a negative slope. You're going downward. So your negative slope hits quadrant 2 and 4. Even though it did go through this quadrant, we're talking about the extended line. Remember, these go forever in all directions. This needs to be copied into your notes for an understanding of what I'm talking about. Now, it's also possible to have no slope at all. This is called zero slope, and it just goes parallel to that x-axis. This would be a flat line. So if you were on a bike, this would be quite easy to go biking on a flat surface. Lastly, we have one that's called undefined. When the line goes vertically and basically is parallel to the y-axis, it's really like kind of falling off the cliff. So that wouldn't be a good idea if you were on a bike or walking. So you have a positive slope, the negative slope, no slope or zero slope, and then one that's called undefined. Another topic that's covered in Algebra 1, the linear equation units, has to do with 2 or more lines copied onto the same coordinate graph. When lines are parallel to each other, in this case I've drawn this situation, parallel lines have the same slope. So you can figure when you have ordered pairs on the first line and ordered pairs on the second line, you can actually calculate the slope of both of the lines, and if the slope is the same, you know the lines are parallel. This is very helpful if you're trying to prove that your shape is a parallelogram or perhaps a square, because we would have opposite sides that are parallel, and those are graphable, and those are you can calculate the exact figure. As soon as you can get both of the slopes the same, you know the lines are parallel. When the two lines cross each other forming right angles, we know that the lines are perpendicular, and the slopes of these lines are the opposite. They are reciprocal negative slopes. So over here you have the slope of line 1 is, let's say it's 4, and the slope of line 2 could be 4. In this case, the slope of line 1 is 4, and the slope of line 2 is negative 1/4. If we put the 4 into a fraction, you'd see it like this. So do you see how it's flipped? It's the reciprocal, and one is positive and one is negative. That's referred to as reciprocal. They're flipped, and one's negative. Flip it and negate one of them. So like on this one, if I had another example, m is equal to 2/3, and m is equal to 2/3. So the slopes are the same. Over here we would have m is equal to 2/3, and m is equal to negative 3/2. That's what they mean by that when they say perpendicular lines form right angles, and you can tell that they're right angles when the slopes are flipped and different signs. So here are the notes that talk about the pictures that we just saw. Parallel lines have the same slope. M is equal to m. Perpendicular lines have reciprocal negative slopes. There's an example. Please pause the video, copy this into your notes.